Welcome back to Coffee with Captain. Excited to introduce our guest of the hour, Fred from Doma. Fred, GM, thanks so much for joining us today. Really excited to get into this. Before we get started, though, talking about Doma and D3 and all that you're building over there, we'd love to get a little more, or love for you to share a little more of your background and not just your journey into crypto, but the Bored Ape Yacht Club and anything you'd like to share about your background in the domain industry and that ultimately led you to this point. GM, welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. So a little bit about my background. So I'm Fred. I'm CEO of D3. We're building Doma, the blockchain. I'll start really quick. I grew up in LA. I'm currently in downtown LA right now. Not a lot of people I know work or live in downtown LA. I've been in the domain industry for about 25 years. This is my second domain company. You mentioned apes. I'm also BAYC 7001. Proudly bought my ape back in 2022 at the height and held on.
Respect.
I got the faux hawk.
Fire ape.
Thanks.
Appreciate you holding on and respect for holding on, buying the near top and continuing to rock it proudly. Pretty
much at the top. I paid 135 ETH when ETH was about $3,700. So mad respect.
What so tell us, let's just jump right into the thing. I appreciate your time. I guess before we jump into Doma, I don't know if there's anything that caught your attention or interest there in the earlier conversation. Bitcoin moving today, ETH moving. Any thoughts on just market at a high level or anything to add to the conversation we were having before you joined us?
I was particularly interested, and I was just chatting with my team about, you mentioned crypto dick butt collectors. Pretty awesome. I got 3 kids, so I think they'd be all over that if they could buy, when they could buy. I don't know if they're too late. But generally, no. I think long term, I've holding to my Bitcoin, Ethereum for a while. So I think that if you even look at the blips of the past 2 or 3 years, we're net up. And so I think my companies usually are about 8 to 10 years. So I think we're still early on in any cycle.
Yeah, I agree. So jumping into things, been in the domain industry for 25 years, very accomplished in that space. Why Doma? Can you give us even a short background of what sparked this idea and why it matters? Why now?
So I used to own about 1 million domains, mostly .coms back in the day. What I noticed even 20 years ago, it's just really hard to buy a domain name. You might have looked into OneCap yourself. I don't know if you have cap.com, that'd be awesome. If you did.
I don't have that one. I would love it, but probably a little bit out of my current price range, I'm guessing, but I'm gonna go check it out now because I don't know if I've ever went to cap.com.
Interesting.
Capital management experts. Yeah, I mean, that would make sense, but
so it's super hard to buy and sell and even trade a domain name. It takes 3 to 4 weeks, if not months. Oftentimes brokers charge 20 to 30%. And oftentimes they only take fiat, right? Doing a wire. And oftentimes deals basically fall through all the time. So I've seen it. I lived through this industry for about 20, 25 years now. That to me, and if you look at a domain name, it's already a digitally native asset, right? It was these .coms. Cap.com was created in 1993, 1994. All right, so people know it has value, but to this day, it's super hard to even interact, let alone throw in a lobbed offer to it, right? I have friends who know friends, brokers who know brokers and stuff. That's usually the way to do it. So fundamentally, I thought, you know what? Let's attach blockchain to an existing Web2 industry. Let's bring crypto to domain names, for example, the very fabric of humanity. Trust me, 6 billion people plus and growing, perhaps 10 billion plus agents as well. The domain name system works. You don't need to fix it. Trust me. You don't need to create alternative systems. So really kind of leveraging the domain name expertise, figure out the pain for myself, and then bringing it to the market. That's my goal.
That's awesome. To answer your question, I've never bought a domain from a broker. I've registered many domains, and I think while I've used some of them, I know my journey is not, I'm not the only one that's done this, where I get this great idea, a registered domain, and then a year later, I've not done anything with that domain, and I just make this, am I going to renew this thing? Am I just going to let it go? And if I've owned 100 domains in my life, I might own like 10 to 12 today, mostly because I just like the idea of even selling it or listing it. I think I've maybe listed some via like, I don't know, GoDaddy or Google, Squarespace,
Yep.
whatever. But I've never bought one through an auction or a broker. And it's really one of those things where I feel like it's an industry that you need to know someone, or you need to be deep in the weeds and know a lot about it. And it's just never been something I've taken the time or spent the resources to dive into. And so my journey has been, I don't want to say wasted a lot of money on domains but I bought domains, had an idea and didn't do anything with it, didn't renew them, primarily because if I wasn't actively building a business with that domain, I didn't know what to do with it. Like, how do I, capitalize at all? How do I monetize this domain outside of parking it somewhere or selling it to someone else? And it's just, I've done that time and time again. And I think Doma can kind of unlock some new utility with domains that we might be holding, right?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. For an asset that's should be liquid, it's very illiquid right now, right? Our main goal is to bring liquidity to the space. People it's just like real estate. Domains are digital real estate. AI.com selling for $70 million a couple weeks ago, right? We know we all know the buyer, Chris at crypto.com. There was a seller's broker and there was a buyer's broker. It literally was like physical real estate, right? But it's very opaque, like you said. A little bit of history about the industry is that 20, 25 years ago, the people who got early on, they hoarded these things. They're smart. They're the early, land grab, the early like robber barons of the time. And it was global, but it was also like middle America that kind of got lucky. They just found something. And you think about the carrying cost, unlike physical real estate, a domain name like AI.com, the annual carrying cost is $10. You're not talking about, property taxes. You're not talking about maintaining electricity, garbage, taxes, insurance for a property in Malibu. It is the world's, in my opinion, most efficient digital asset that has yet come to crypto until now. And we do that at Doma.
I've never thought of it that way, but it might be one of the, not just digital, it might be one of the world's most efficient assets, period, right? Like if you think about, AI.com is a perfect example. An asset like that, yes, they held for decades, but the cost to maintain it was, like you said, $10 a year. Maybe if you're buying a premium domain, maybe you end up paying, I don't know, $100 a year on some of these premium domains, but relative to any other asset, any other property, extremely efficient. I'd never connect those dots, but yeah, it really is. And I think, again, Chat, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I know I'm not the only one who's had, an idea late at night. This is going to be the next greatest thing. And let me go register 5 domains just in case. And then, like you said, it's illiquid. I don't end up doing anything with it if I don't ship the business. And, the justification, do I continue to hold this domain? Now, AI.com, maybe that's a little different. The people who were super early, but for others that weren't super early, we have to make this decision. Is someone going to want this domain 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Is it worth even paying the $10 a year to maintain this? Whereas Doma's unlocking a whole new world for those that are domainers. And when I say domainers, you don't have to be the brokers out there that are buying or selling AI.com. I can see where Doma makes sense for those individuals as well. But when I first got turned on to Doma, what got me excited was like, oh wow, I could have used this over the last decade and brought a lot of my domains onto Doma and actually done something with them, turned that wallet efficient asset into a productive asset. And this is what gets me excited, unlocking. I don't know if you caught talking about Beezing, what they're doing with, RWAs on the collectible side. It's just better. Like it's just better on chain than off chain. And really appreciate you guys taking the shot and experimenting and innovating and bringing new yet old things on chain.
No, definitely. And if it would help, I could give a little, 30-second information primer on what the domain industry is. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's about 380 million domain names in the world, like .com, .ai, etc. The asset class is about $350 billion. It's 40% owned by institutions and domain investors, people like what I'm talking about, who actually buy and flip these things. This one's interesting because you mentioned as well, not only are people buying it, you mentioned you can buy your domain name at night, right, for your startup and you go to bed. Now agents are buying domain names themselves. Like we think this is going to be the power of the next sort of explosion of these identities that are pretty much universal. There's only one Amazon.com. There's only one AI.com. There's only one Cap.com, right? Unlike NFTs, there were, I'm like you, my OpenSea account, you can look at it, like you can, there've been a lot of fake drops. There's been a lot of fake NFTs back in the day, right? People claim to have my same ape, but there's only like one smart contract, as you know, you as a smart, savvy guy, you have to go and verify the token contract and make sure it's authentic, right? You don't have to worry about that. The domain names. There's only one domain for Amazon, for example, that were resolved globally for everybody. Another stat I think is interesting. Domain name system or DNS queries, right? Every device, every computer does a DNS query, right? It's just looking up like an address. You go to Amazon.com, the domain name system gives you an IP address. You go visit the website, right? That resolution was at about 6 trillion monthly queries back in 2022. Today, it's about 14 trillion per month. And that number is quickly growing, right? With all this talk about agents and people skipping apps and possibly going straight to me talking to your AI talking to other AI talking to other people, that's just going to explode the amount of internet traffic going forward, right? So it's actually a pretty embedded industry, and this whole system has been governed by ICANN here in LA. ICANN is known as the Internet Corporation of Assigned Names and Numbers. They're a nonprofit. They're made up of 200 governments. They're the most functional decentralized org out there. People don't think about it, right? So the folks enabling you to be on the internet are background behind the scenes and can scale to hundreds of trillions of queries per month. So super interesting industry that not many people know about.
Yeah, it really, I feel it's one of those industries where like most people know of, but very few really know about. It feels like a very small, hyper niche group of individuals that know a lot, and then the rest of us are like outsiders. And you talk about ICANN being decentralized. I do like, this is not to be cheesy, but it feels like somewhat like democratization of an industry when you're bringing these domains on chain. And you were talking some domain stats there. I'd love to hear a little bit about Doma stats and tell us kind of about the growth so far. I'll share the main landing page, but while Doma might be new for first time, some of our listeners are hearing about it today. Not just started. You've been around for a bit and have had some great successes early on. Do you mind sharing some of those, some of the early growth numbers and where you are already?
Sure. First of all, we've had about 45 million in trading volume since we launched mainnet of Doma a couple months ago. Right? We've had just a little bit over 100 domain names tokenized. Again, there's 400 million more, right? So, but already we have about 24 million in asset value trading on chain. If you look at investors.xyz, investors.xyz was sitting around as a domain name, literally renewing for whatever, 10 bucks a year, 15 bucks a year. It was sitting in a guy's parking lot for a while. Now it has 11,000 holders. People can actually buy fractions of investors.xyz. Right? And when you buy a token of investors.xyz, you also get a subdomain. So there is utility, right? You can get, like cap or cap.investors.xyz. So like I said, it doesn't matter where you are, as long as you have an account, as long as you have a crypto wallet, you can buy either the whole or piece of this domain name for something that never existed before, right? You can only buy and sell these domains before. For the first time, you could fractionalize them, right? We have about 40 million in-network domains, quickly growing. Our mission is to tokenize the entire internet. So we're like literally in day zero right now.
Very, very exciting. What talk about some of these other like biggest token launches date? Would Investors XYZ, is that one of the bigger ones? I just saw it was on the screen here. Is
there's software.ai. If you click on software.ai or even visit software.ai as well as boner.com in your browser, you'll see that software.ai has what, an FTV of just under $300,000. Less than I paid for my ape back in 2022, ironically. And it's already traded like over $3.5 million of people just trading software.ai token. I think that, if I was a buyer, I came by, I'd be like, oh, I can visit software.ai like Binance.com. Oh, it's real. Let me invest in it. I trust the people. They're not a bunch of avatars, minus my ape.
mm-hmm.
Boner.com, same idea. We know owners of Boner.com that have literally sat on it for almost 10 years. If you go to boner.com, scroll down, like the asset value now on Doma is worth $180,000. And trust me, they bought a lot less than $180,000. They've only sold less than 25% of that name.
There's some joke here to tie in boner.com and their $180,000 value to crypto dick butts. It's not hitting me quite yet, but I will. That'll be my objective before the show ends, is how I can connect boner.com to crypto dick butts. But you're definitely pulling on some DGen heartstrings there with that one. It really, this is, software.ai FTV of 280,000, market cap of 105,000. While this may seem like a lot for a domain, when I first saw it, like, wow, this is seeing some of like the market caps, the FTV we see of some of the, not just altcoins or, notable meme coins, but even like the daily runners on pump.fun that have zero value, zero utility. It's purely just speculation on price. This got me excited. It's like, okay, while I may not be in the market to go buy boner.com for 180 grand, I certainly can speculate on it and think that there's something there that someone could turn this into a real business. And I could easily see that becoming worth far more than $180,000 and be able to participate in that upside. Is it, I guess, kind of getting into some of the specifics here, if we can, is it, I assume the owners choose how much they're going, what percentage of the domain they're going to sell, how much is available? Can you kind of talk through some, like, there's a bonding curve. Can we talk through, do you mind sharing some, like, what does that even look like? Someone wants to bring their domain onto Doma. How does that work? Do they set the price? Do they set the amount? Does Doma set that? What is the specifics when it comes to if someone wants to launch their own domain?
Yeah, it's pretty similar to how you would think about GoDaddy. If you have a domain name, you go to GoDaddy, or in this case, you go to Doma. You want to basically set some buy it now price. In this case, brag.com has an $18 million buy it now price. Software.ai has something like $2 million. Like, you don't lose that. You can still have somebody come by and bid or even overbid on your domain name, right? But think about it. They can now do it easily with crypto. Some guy half across the world can come in and buy it with enough ETH, USDC, ultimately like Bitcoin if they wanted to. So we're already kind of knocking down that fence. Yeah, and then you can basically we'll guide you to kind of what your starting FTV will be, and then it graduates, similar to pump.fun, right? When it graduates, it then provides enough liquidity to allow this token to trade with decent liquidity. And so when you sell, and that's it. You come, you tokenize your domain, you set a buy now price, per your liking. You still control the domain name. You can decide to sell 20% or even less. You still control the overall domain and the DNS, but you're literally selling fractions of this asset through a graduation process similar to other launch pads.
Very cool. As I was scanning here on brag.com, I see buyout price, minimum buyout price 18 million, market buyout price 18 million, buyout fees 180,000. The question that popped in my head, if the majority owners of brag.com, if they want to outright sell the domain to another party, is that did they, I guess, force buyout? Do they buy out of the shares first and then sell? What does that look like in terms of like an exit?
So the great thing is that this domain name now that's been tokenized, we essentially hold it in custody. We put something called a domain transfer lock, so it cannot be transferred out, for example. It's a very elegant custodial mechanism already in place. The beauty about this is that the smart contract controls the whole buyout logic. If someone wants to come along and the current FDV is $500,000, and if someone wants to come along and again, the buy it now price can change. It could be 5 million, it could be 10 million. All the early token holders will be bought out and will be made whole with an instant transfer of USDC to their wallet. So the whole program is already kind of built into the smart contract from day one.
Very cool. Very cool. I've got just the exploring, by the way, site app.doma.xyz to see if you're listening to the recording later or you're catching the podcast. We'll put all these links in the show notes as well. But if those of you that are listening in live and don't have the video pulled up, if you want to see what we're looking at, just app.doma.xyz, and you can see, just should be what look like a very familiar user interface and you can explore. You can go just buy tokens, shares of these domains without having to bring your own over. That would be my next question though. What does, if someone's listening today, like, oh, I'm in, I've got a dozen domains, I'd like to bring them over. Is that self-serve? What does that look like? How do they go about launching their domains on Doma? What would be like next steps for someone listening that wants to turn their domains?
Yeah, we have a sandbox registrar. It's called Interstellar, interstellar.xyz, all one word. And you can basically, and it's our sandbox, right? Our mission is that we will work with all registrars that will integrate into Doma. So if you type in a domain like your com, you transfer it over, just like you transferring a domain name from Squarespace to Google or Google to say Namecheap, et cetera, right? So if you type in like whatever.com, it's a very simple transfer process, right? And again, we don't compete with other registrars. We're simply trying to make it an easy blockchain integration for registrars. It takes less than 2 weeks, one sprint to integrate. So if you're a Namecheap, if you're like a Squarespace and even some of the domain registrars that I used to own, you want to be able to tap into Doma to bring this product to your customers, right?
Very cool. And not only transferring or bringing them on chain, but I'm right in thinking like if they want to register their own, they can register via interstellar.xyz and it brings it on to Doma right from the jump, or there's still that process after they register the domain?
Right from the jump. So right from the jump, when you transfer it over, it's going to be tokenized. And already you're going to have a wallet attached to it. So we're doing all the heavy lifting for you so you can kind of truly make this blockchain and crypto friendly of an asset.
Yeah, I don't want to say it seems inevitable or obvious, but if you're aware of this, why would you? I mean, and it's also priced competitively. I should add that, like at least with the current promos, $7.99 a year for .com, $10.99 for .xyz. These are the promo offers valid for the first 1,000 names, but priced competitively, unlocks a lot more access, utility, liquidity. Why? I mean, is not to set you up for an easy question, but why would anyone register a domain going forward at GoDaddy or Squarespace or fill in the blank registrar? What? I mean, it just seems like it's on every level. What would be the downside of registering on interstellar.com if there is one? Or excuse me, Interstellar.
There's no downside. Every registrar out there abides by ICANN rules, right? We protect your privacy. We protect your asset. If someone tries to come along and steal your domain, we'll get it back for you, right? Provide customer support, right? But again, we're more about building rails for registrars like this. I keep going back to this is a reference for us. You won't be seeing us spending $1 million ads for Interstellar on Super Bowl. You will see us hopefully, seeing what was the Emma Stone commercial? What was that? Was that Wix or Squarespace? The Super Bowl commercial where she was looking for a domain name.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe the worst Super Bowl commercial too. And it didn't make any sense. Like that's like okay. I thought it landed very poorly with me.
I think education is one big thing, right? People just don't know. like about this asset class being as programmable and potentially liquid as it can be, right? My brother owns 800 domain names, mostly .coms, even mostly like 2-word or even 3-word.com. I'm like, why don't you just tokenize these? Well, yeah. But the moment you kind of turn on the money light and someone does it and they actually receive money, USDC, for example, in their wallet, we envision these things kind of spreading more and more. So case studies, demystifying the asset class for Web3 and also Web2 people. And we're lucky enough to also have some pretty solid backers like Coinbase, like Paradigm, who led our Series A about a year ago. And our sister companies are companies like Uniswap, like Flashbots, like protocol level stuff in the Web3 space, right? So get the rails going first, build some case studies, and then layer on the possibilities for mass retail across Web 2 and Web 3. So you mentioned earlier, like exactly what we do. We're kind of building this Web 2, Web 3 interoperability play. And frankly, and also you mentioned too, like if you go to pump.fund, a lot of assets are worthless. They go to zero. Mm-hmm. Domain names will never go to zero. I promise you that. Right? The only domain names that go to zero are the ones that haven't been registered yet. At the same time, I think in this market, don't expect 1,000x on a domain, right?
Exactly.
So there's some band in between that I think is healthy, and especially in this market, I think reality for this market in bear markets are the best times to build, in my opinion, and the best time for people to realize where long-term value is created and accrues.
Feels a little more baked in reality and proper, right? Like it's the valuations on some of these meme coins are, it's silly, and they will most often speed run to zero. Here, you may not see 1,000x overnight, but it's not going to zero. And especially over the course of time, like imagine if you got imagine if this was around when AI.com got purchased and they tokenized that thing. And I mean, that would be 1,000x. Granted, it's maybe decades in the making, but that is, I get excited because this is real product, real builders bringing real assets on chain and making them better. And as we were talking earlier about what is going to be catalyst, it's going to onboard the next waves of users and yes, stable coins may not be the most exciting thing. Payments not be the most exciting thing. Some people may not think domains are the most exciting thing, but they're, I don't know, more exciting than stable coins. And there's actually opportunity to, realize gains on this. You mentioned, congrats, by the way, on the raise, the early backers. Is there any, I don't want to misspeak, is there any, I guess that is public that you can share, like the amount of the raise, any other, not just investors and backers, but some of your ecosystem partners?
Like sure, yeah. When we raised about a year ago from Paradigm, I think that was pretty public. It was a $25 million raise. That was a Series A. Some of the other ecosystems we work with are like Solana Foundation, Avalanche, obviously based in the Coinbase ecosystem, right? So some of the top communities that really see how the world and the internet works, but more importantly, how can they attach their their chain, their platform to RWA, right? You mentioned as well too. I agree with you. There's not a ton of use cases for crypto, and this is coming from a guy who bought my ape for $400,000, actually $430,000. What do they say? I came for the artwork. I stayed for the community. I'm still part of the community. We've been entrusted by the ApeCoin Foundation to launch .ape this year, right? I still am a big believer of the ethos of Web3, right? But people are looking for more long-term viability ecosystems like those I mentioned, right? They want trading fees, of course. They want expansion. They want use cases. They want trading to happen on the asset class, right? And I think it's ironic too. A lot of people in Web3, like me, who's an ape, and I bought a ton of shit coins, and I have Azukis, Moonbirds, every farmhouse animal I feel like is in my wallet. Still, I've never sold. You may not care about something, but then you switch your windows and you go to Binance.com and you trade. People just inherently don't think about it. 2FA, I'm doing it over my email. I only trust the emails coming from crypto.com, which is 2 blocks away. Crypto.com arena, for example, right? So it's just sometimes just you need a little bit of the relate what people are normally doing in Web3 to tie to something they can do in, say, Web2, to just connect the dots. Speculation, trading, owning a critical identity for boner.com, right? Just needs to kind of click a little bit more. And we're kind of really excited to kind of keep on building and educating toward that.
It is exciting. I do want to come back to premium domains and specifically have a question on .ape, but you mentioned like identity and digital identity. How does like ENS integrate into this? Is there, do these tokenized DNS domains, can they behave like an ENS domain? Can we map it to like, what can you help it? Like, I feel like I should be clicking for me, but can you expand on that identity across both Web 2 and Web 3 and where Doma comes into play?
ENS are actually great partners. I think that they've decided since day one they're going to focus on interoperability as well between Web 3 and Web 2, right? If you buy a domain, subdomain like cap.brag.com, you can not only map your wallet to it, but you can map your ENS identity to it with a click of a button, right? So then you could go on to, say, a MetaMask or something, and all of a sudden you'll be identified, your wallet will be identified as cap.brag.com or cap.boner.com. Simple as that. And it's easy. It's super straightforward.
Quick interjection. Phonics wins the chat. How did you get rich? I was early to boner.com. We all can be early to boner.com now. This is never before. You might have missed out on the original registration, but now everyone listening in, you can all be early to boner.com. Fred, I did not see our conversation as taking us back and forth to boner.com today, but here we are. In all seriousness, it is this sort of stuff where it's, I don't know, what gets me so excited is it's like real world business, real assets, yet at the same time, it's a team that's in the Web3 trenches, in the crypto trenches, and understanding the culture. And there's something magical there when you combine these two worlds at this intersection of Web2 and Web2 serious business, Web3 degens and fun and the comedic nature of it. And I know that while this may be, we say crypto and Web3 stuff, memes are viral for a reason. It's a lot of people, while there's real substance behind all this, like having some fun with some of this stuff, having fun with this on-chain identity, it carries weight. It matters. It transcends just the crypto space. And touche for leading the charge here. Before I forget, back to premium domains and .ape. Like I was not familiar with the process of registering premium domains and going to these auctions. I'm still very elementary knowledge, but it was actually the proposal that you guys put up and passed with the ApeCoin DAO and securing that. Can you educate us a little bit on that? Like, what does that process look like? I'm guessing most people have no idea what it takes to actually go own a premium domain like .ape, and anything you can share on that process, what kind of timeline we're looking at, and any other details that might be relevant for premium domains, specifically .ape.
Yeah, so ICANN, about once every 15 to 20 years, they allow basically a new generic top-level domain to be created, like a .ape, right? We call those GTLDs. So that round starts in 2 months. 2 months. So you need to pay about $250,000, right? You have to fill an application this big. Your team has to be vetted. You have to have 100% uptime. You have to go through financial audits, for example. You have to abide by a pretty strict rule set. There's only about 20 qualified operators of these extensions, like a .ai or .xyz, let alone a .com or even like a .ape, right, in the world. And then it's a land rush. It's a process whereby these things get delegated, and then they start working your browser, within a year or two. That's it. You just have to be vetted. It's probably no different than, not completely, but similar to trying to get a taxi cab medallion in New York City. Yep. You probably have to pay money. You probably have to, get your background checked and all that stuff. You probably have to have a car. That's pretty similar to the world of creating these extensions.
Yeah, every
And then
15 years is
secondly,
wild.
that's pretty wild. And you have to know how to market these things, right? Trust me, there's a lot of dead top level domain extensions, right, that are unlaunched. Coca-Cola has .Coca-Cola, has .Coke. FedEx has .FedEx. There's been .dot. And there's a lot of, it's pretty glamorous, I think, to actually create one of these planets, right, and issue land in perpetuity and renew it in perpetuity. But you need to know what you're doing. You need to be able to get in front of people. Like what you're doing. Distribution's king, man. Like you need to know how to get in front of the right eyeballs to buy the stuff. So we're pretty excited about Ape, for example, because we're working with ApeCoin now. And the guys at Yuga and ApeCoin have been great for the past few years here.
Yeah, I'm personally excited, and that is one where I did reserve Cap early on, so I may not have cap.com, but cap.ape once this goes through. What is it? I mean, do you anticipate a bidding war? Does it like what is like? I guess is there a scenario where you're not able to secure .ape because someone comes in and goes harder at it? Is there? Can you share like what you might? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot or share anything.
No. There's two type of applications. You can put in what's called a community application. Like literally, ICANN is something called a community application. Which when I looked at Web3, I was like, oh, this is all community. Remember? That's why I paid $430,000 for my ape. I came for the community. It's a proven set of people, wallet addresses, whatever, that you can just be like, here you go, ICANN.
Interesting.
See, we're a real community. The second type of application is a brand application. Those are reserved for companies like if you own Microsoft, for example, and you want to buy .Microsoft, you put in a different application, right? For a brand, that's going to be called a restricted TLD. You can only use it for team members, buildings. You can't sell it, for example, to the general public on like a GoDaddy, right? And then the rest is going to be auctions. .agent, we'll go to auction and trust me. Crypto, we'll go to auction. Trust me, it's a generic keyword, and ICANN's been really good about defining for the past several decades. The generic words and TLDs cannot be trademarked, right? So that is definitely when people with the right application, the right team, the right technology, but the right amount of bankroll will come in and have to bid.
Yeah, very very interesting. It's a world that, as I mentioned earlier, seemed very complex. It is, and probably a good thing when you think about like the moat that is there, both from capital and knowledge and connections. Probably a good thing that it is protected like that. And again, not to be cheesy, as I said earlier, but it really does feel like Doma is helping democratize this world of domains and making not just high level premium domains, but making this world accessible to not just those of us that are here in the crypto space, but quote unquote normies. Maria in the chat says, I think when a non-Web3 person goes to claim their domain name the regular way, and on that page there's a button that says, hey, before you click, you want to claim your domain in a way where you can earn tokens instead. That would be a way for people to get interested and onboarded. And I even see on Doma, they're about getting your subdomain and staking domains. What does that entail? Can you expand on what does that even mean? Staking, staking a subdomain, and why might I want to do that?
So if you buy a token for Boner.com, even if it's one token, you will need to stake that one token in order to qualify for a subdomain, right? One token, maybe a very, very long subdomain, cap, .boner.com. If you put in like maybe 5,000 or 10,000 tokens and stake them, you can get a shorter subdomain.
Interesting.
And then you can immediately map that to your website, your wallet address, your ENS address, and utility right away.
So if I go buy Boner.com tokens and I stake those tokens and I have cap.boner.com, what do the economics look like there? Is it just all token is being bought, so number theoretically goes up? Is there any sort of flow back to whether it be the other shareholders of Boner.com or the majority owner of Boner.com? What does that look like when someone does exactly that and registers one of these subdomains?
So it's very intuitively Web3. there's a fixed supply, call it 1 million tokens. The more people come and buying subdomains and staking them, the less kind of circulating supply there is, right? The rest is just kind of simple, I think, supply, demand economics as it relates to the token, right? You can also see on chain what people are doing, where these tokens are being traded, perhaps even on dexes and stuff. And you can see if the owner also claims and sells more of these things to the public to allow people to buy and stake even more tokens. So it follows the mechanics that you and the audience, I think, are pretty aware of already. But just again, kind of doing it for a domain name just needs to be clear. And of course, we implement Uniswap v3 with full range liquidity, so you can also come in and create and provide liquidity for boner.com, right? And you can earn fees in USDC for that and withdraw your liquidity at any time.
And I can do that on Doma.xyz or Uniswap, or it's proprietary to the Doma platform?
You can do it on either. We just make it easier to focus on this asset class as opposed to sifting through all the other products on Uniswap itself.
Very cool. And I see USDC on here. Are they all paired with USDC, or can they be paired with ETH or any other? What's the other sides look like?
Yep, paired with ETH, USDC. You have to bridge your USDC to Doma. There's a very straightforward and easy process to do that on the top with the bridge button. Other EVM and SVM, Solana capabilities will come in the near future. I'm super excited about that.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I do, not necessarily kind of a hard pivot, but we're talking about this space. And by the way, we alluded to, we've got some more stuff coming. This isn't just a one-off interview. We are going to be have a couple times a week a brief segment brought to you by Doma. We will have some fun stuff in the works for our regular listeners and our supporters. I know it's maybe a month and a half, 2 months away here, but can you talk to us a little bit about Dominion Conference? And for those that there might be individuals listening that are getting really excited about this, what is Dominion Conference and why might they want to be attending?
Dominion in April 29th through 30th in Vegas is our third annual conference dedicated to DomainFi, kind of the financialization of domain names, right? It's going to be high quality, action packed. We're going to have some great speakers from Web 2 and Web 3. You want to be there because, again, it's off the back half of Bitcoin Vegas. For anybody who values access to a kind of mystified and kind of wants to demystify this asset class, join in, meet, network with folks, great entertainment, great food, you should come. We'd love to have you too. And
you said, so off the tail, so Bitcoin Vegas is a couple of days, and then immediately following Bitcoin Vegas is Dominion?
Right, April 29th and 30th next month at Resorts World Vegas.
Awesome.
So I think Bitcoin Vegas is just like the prior few days, April 27th, 28th-ish or so.
You mentioned third annual conference. You threw out DomainFi there. Am I correct in assuming that D3 and Doma coined the phrase DomainFi? That's I don't want to say exclusive to you all, but you originated the DomainFi segment, right?
Yeah, we created the whole terminology DomainFi. We also trademarked the term in the US as well. So DomainFi is ours.
What sort of, like, as a crypto native and one that gets really excited when we get new primitives, especially when we're bringing real world assets on chain and doing so in novel ways, gets me excited. What sort of reception have you got from this from the domainers, those that aren't crypto natives, and whether it's been at Dominion or they come across Doma and DomainFi elsewhere? You threw out your brother there as an example, but what sort of reception, good, bad, ugly, and different, have you received from hardcore OG domainers when it comes to Doma and DomainFi?
Pretty good, pretty receptive, right? I've made a lot of domainers millions of dollars across the street 20 years ago when I came out of college. They trust me. They trust that I built real technology. Right. I think, there's a good book out there called Crossing the Chasm right? For anybody who hasn't read it, check it out. It talks about the 5 stages of adoption, right? I'd say there's always the earliest innovators, right? The techies usually adopt first, right? And then there's a cohort of early adopters that are kind of like those visionaries. And then there's kind of the early majority and late majority conservatives. That's like the top of the bell curve, right? A lot of domainers are kind of in between early and early majority and early adopters, kind of on the uptick of that 2 or 3 stage of adoption. It's normal. We anticipate it. It just requires, focus and grinding for the next weeks, months, and years over here. And like I said before, my companies in general have been on average 8 to 10 years each. And D3's been around for what, 2.5 years? So it's a marathon. I mean, we look forward to it. But I think once you and then of course the late stage adopters will be the big corporates, right? Hopefully, I don't know, TV commercials one day where it's just like click, 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 like I see with chime.com and all these commercials all over TV, right? But yeah, you bring good charts. So like I said, Web 2 domain industry people are kind of in that innovators and early adopters range. And I think the Web 3 people are probably in a combination of stage 2 and 3 over there, that early majority. So we anticipate, and that's why we're doing, for example, these conferences and doing more education about DomainFi. But we're right there. We're right at that chasm point.
It makes sense. And on both fronts, I would, if you were to like today, if you were to identify like a target market, is it, I'm guessing maybe both, but is it crypto natives? Is it traditional domainers? Like who is the target demographic for Doma today?
Yeah, I can say this because I'm a middle child, right? I've always been in between 2 worlds. On the Web3 side, it's the crypto native traders. It's the degens. It's people who want to buy an asset class and make money or use a domain name, like map it to their DNS address. On the Web 2 side, so Web 3 to us represents demand. Web 2 for us represents supply. People who have been sitting on these assets like AI.com and will literally take these assets to the grave. They're so cheap, $10 a year. I'm starting to see domainers die off. They're handing these assets now to their kids. Like I want to fix that. It's like before you could do that, you can do a lot of things with your domain name. You could sell pieces of it. You maybe can eventually borrow against it. You can take that like a home equity line of credit and put it against other assets. You can do more this domain name, but it's just so tempting to hold on to it because it's just cost $10 a year, to renew it. Oh, I'll do it next year. Oh, maybe next year. So yeah, supply on the Web 2 side, demand on the Web 3 side. I think what's going to be exciting for me is when like these Web 2 supply people also become buyers.
Yeah,
right? That's when it's going to be like late stage, early majority for sure.
As I was pulling up, again, doma.xyz, app.doma.xyz, you can see everything I'm looking at on screen here. One of the things that jumped out to me was just the amount of these subdomains. And investors.xyz already has 23,000 subdomains. Is that even possible in Web 2 without like buying one from the domain holder? Is it like, am I right in thinking it's not even possible? Like if I wanted to go get a subdomain for, I don't know,
AI.com?
Yeah, I can't do it, right? Unless they're selling those subdomains. Or
I was watching the Super Bowl and I was like a lot of people, I was trying to claim my AI.com/username, right? And I even put down my Apple Pay to reserve it. I don't even know what I bought, to be honest with you. I haven't gotten a credit card charge, but I would love to have a subdomain, Fred or fredshoe.ai.com. Simple as that. I can't do it.
Yep. That's what I was thinking. And to me, while it may not be your lead, I think that's powerful. You talk about on-chain identity, but not just on-chain, like digital identity, and like to be able to go get cap.investors.xyz or cap.software.ai, fill in the blank. It just, again, it's unlocking more utility, providing more access to the masses. And I think just one of the really well thought out protocol platform with all that you can do on it. It's not just tokenizing the asset and selling shares, really is unlocking a lot more. And I am excited to dive in deeper. I'm excited to bring some domains that I've held and done nothing with, bring them over to Doma. We're actually going to do that live here on the show here. I don't know if we're going to do that next week, but in the near future, we're going to do some live demos and show everyone, that process. And I know we're running up against 10 o'clock here. I really greatly appreciate your time this morning. Excited to work with you and the team and spend a little more time together. I will ask if you have a few more minutes, if there's anyone in the chat that has any additional questions for Fred regarding Doma or the domain industry in general, either throw in a request to come up on stage or drop your questions in any of the chats. We'll do our best to get all those answered. But before we get you out of here or get to any additional listener questions, Fred, is there anything that we haven't talked about today? Anything I haven't asked you that you were hoping to share with everyone?
No. Well, one quick thing. You mentioned the team. We are a team of 40, half of us in the United States. We're pretty fierce. We have, I think, the best team I've ever worked with. So really hats off to the team. They've been hustling. They've been pushing. They've been staying around the clock. Just a big shout out to my team. We have some of the best commercial tech product people, I think, in the world.
I would agree. I know we've only been working together for a short period of time, but our producer Payne can attest that, and I mean this no disrespect to any of the other partners. We've worked with incredible partners. We had Joey up here from BZ. BZ supported us. We've worked with ENS. We've worked with some, with the Ape Foundation and that worked with some incredible teams in this space. It's been refreshing working with you all that I don't even know how to best describe it. I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I don't want this to be taken out of context. I'm not trying to offend anyone else, but it's like there's adults in the room. Like you get crypto culture, but at the same time, just the professionalism, even, it sounds silly for some, but even like having, a brand book or brand guidelines, and from logos to bios. And it's just like, it is refreshing to see individuals in a team who is very polished, understands the corporate world, how people move in the corporate world, how business development takes place and partnerships are done. And in bringing that on chain, it gets me excited. The best way I was describing to someone else, it's like, and I know, yes, on building on chain, but to me, it's been an experience like, oh, we're working with a real Web2 company that's building on chain. And that gets me excited just at the highest level. Is we need more people like yourself. We need more leaders that have the credentials, the background, a team that is so polished and brings with it a wealth of knowledge and experiences and how to move in this space. And I don't mean any offense to anyone else, but more grownups in the room, like that in itself is going to help onboard not just other users, but other entrepreneurs, other builders, other startups, when they can see like, oh, this isn't just, they're not just crypto because it's some grift or some pump and dump. They're actually leveraging the technology to make something better. And I guess at the core, when we talk about, talking with founders and builders and teams, like that is, to me, it's very important, and truly appreciate not just for the partnership and the opportunity to work with you all, but how you are building in the space. I think I hope other founders and teams can take note and pay attention. And I genuinely mean it. I think that will onboard many others. Like I would be actually surprised if some Web2 company or some domainer that talks with you guys at Dominion this year doesn't ultimately start exploring and doing something and building something on chain. And that is, I think, a big boost. Even if you're not into domains and you've never registered a domain, if you're not into trading altcoins that we were talking about earlier, or have any interest in a subdomain, watch how this team moves, watch what they're doing. And if you have other friends who are entrepreneurs or founders or considering crypto, they're crypto curious, like this is, I get really excited about, yourself and the team you mentioned. And it is refreshing for and again, no offense to anyone else who's listening in. There's a lot of great people in this space, but there's, I think, very few that have both the traditional corporate professional background and understand crypto culture and can navigate with the crypto natives. I think it's pretty impressive, and excited to do more with y'all.
And we're hiring too. Just wanted to say we're hiring. We're trying to, if you like LA, come to LA. It's not so bad. It's pretty good. But again, our mission really is to unlock liquidity for domain investors, right? And growth for these registrars, like I was mentioning, right? And again, this is a real asset class. Trust me, the internet will be around for the next 100 years. Okay. And we wanted to, make that accessible to Web3 traders finally.
Fred, any specific positions or any particular roles or anything in particular you're looking for currently?
Yeah, you can go to d.com/careers. We are looking for roles around the gamut. Technology, there's even new grads, engineers, front end, back end, looking for a Solana engineer as well, full stack guys. On the commercial side, if you like to work on pretty cool partnerships, hit us up as well, both on the Web 2 and Web 3 fronts. Project manager as well, ops to help me keep this office nice and humming. Nobody's here right now. It's 6 a.m. But and then marketing. We have a growth lead for Doma and also a visual designer we're looking for. Everything you can look into at d3.com/careers. Thank you for asking.
No, my pleasure. Thank you. And you got some love too on The Office. I was trying to find I saw it earlier in the chat. I think it was Hizzy talking about how, visually loves the screen. Perspective looks really good on camera. So, and thank you for joining us so early. I know it's early there on the West Coast. Appreciate you being here today. I think one more question from the audience, if you have time. How is Doma planning to create sustainable demand for domains outside of trading hype, especially in the next 2 to 3 years?
We're going to bring some of the best assets, domains, registrars on chain, stuff that has never come on chain. We'll do that pretty much exclusively, let's say, right? So look out for that. So more interesting things to buy that have value. We're pretty unique at doing that.
I love it. Maria, given some flowers in the chat, said, love the question about why wouldn't everyone get a domain this way? And the only answer she could come up with is they don't know the tokenized option exists yet. So if you enjoyed the show, if you're interested, go check out Doma. We will get some links, some ref codes, some fun. We do have some fun stuff planned. So more on that starting as early as next week. We will be talking about Dominion Conference, but especially anyone that's planning on going to Bitcoin Vegas, or if you're in the Vegas area, save those dates on your calendar for late April. And really excited to excited to I think we're going to make the trip out there as well. Excited to meet y'all in person, and it's an honor to be working with y'all. So thank you so much for your time today, Fred. We will be in touch soon. And if you do have questions, we'll drop. If you're listening to the recording later, all these links will be in the show notes. If you're in the X Spaces, the Doma Protocol account, the X account is on stage. It's just at Doma Protocol. And then Fred mentioned D3, the parent company of Doma and everything they're building. But as always, if you're unable or you miss one of those and you have a question, feel free to reach out to myself or Payne, and we will connect you with the team. Shout out to Wes. You saw Wes in the audience earlier. Goes way back, longtime friend of the show and frequent audience member. We were talking Cleveland earlier. Wes, a Clevelander up there. I think he's maybe been to a Bitcoin meetup or two with Steve, former co-host here on the show, in legend in the space. But yeah, just and I think also indicative of the team you're building there. Wes is one of the great ones, and
was great. Lisa's great. Mark's great. Yeah, those guys are awesome. Absolutely.
Active member of Doma Gym. We've got Trekkie asking, is there a massive opportunity for scooping up domains for every college player? Even if a few go pro and become all-stars, could be a gamble, could be payoff. I don't, not to get into like domain names and what you can buy or what you can squat or not, but I think whether you're talking college players or a business idea or a concept, previously it was just go register something and cross your fingers and wait. Now you can actually do something with that. Now you could potentially, not potentially, like it wouldn't take much, especially if you graduate, you're likely going to get your initial investment back pretty quickly. And I genuinely mean it. I can't think of a single reason why the next domain I register, even if we weren't working together, why I would ever even consider going to GoDaddy or Squarespace or anywhere else. It just makes sense. It's just a better product, and it turns a very passive, while efficient, very passive asset I can't do anything with other than build a business on it or sell it, to where now it unlocks a whole new world of utility and opportunities. So appreciate all you're doing in the space.
And who knows, maybe the agent will want that domain name that you get on, right? AI and agents are deploying now like at a rapid scale, as we all know, right? So they all need universal endpoints. I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fred, it was a pleasure. Thanks again for joining us today. Appreciate all your time. Thanks for everyone who tuned in and asked some great questions. More soon on this. It won't be the last time you hear of Doma and this platform. Genuinely excited about what they're building and excited to show you all more. We'll be back soon with the Doma team. Look for those sponsor segments kicking off next week. As Steve would say, hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day, everyone.